Good morning. It is 7:56 a.m. on Thursday, May the 20th, 2021. I'm Christiana Ellis, and I just got up. This is 5 more minutes. Again, I just sort of stumble over saying I just got up because it's very much the situation that I've been talking about lately, where technically I get up and I take Rocket outside much earlier, then I kind of go back to bed, and then I sleep in a little bit more. And because of that whole rhythm, I don't always. Sorry, I was looking at my dog for a second. Sometimes I have to do that. But it's fine. Here I am. Ta da! Um, um, I played some fun D&D last night where my wizard character got to make excellent use of a Wall of Force spell. Um, I was very pleased with that because, I mean, that's a spell that you take when you're hoping to do cool stuff with it, situational battle control stuff. And yeah, worked out okay. I mean, I'm, at the risk of tuning my own horn a little bit, I'm just extremely pleased. The battle, I think, went very differently than it might have if I had tried to, if I hadn't done what I did. But it felt good. Um, and the other thing that I was kind of just thinking about recently is feeling a bit reinvigorated in my interest in both Star Wars and Star Trek recently, both as a direct result of podcasts. So I've talked about it a little bit on the show, these videos before, but there's a podcast called A More Civilized Age, where some people are just really doing deep dive on the Clone Wars cartoon show. And it is so good. These people are really smart. They're interested. And they're also really interested in digging into like political ramifications and writing and all of that stuff. It's just really fun hearing them talk about Clone Wars. I also recently discovered a podcast called The Pod Directive that is a Star Trek podcast, fairly standard in its formatting, but hosted by Tawny Newsome and Paul F. Tompkins. And I'm like, what? I love both of those people, and I didn't know they did a Star Trek podcast. Well, guess what? They do. And so that's got me thinking about trying again to rewatch Deep Space Nine, which I never really watched all of when it was new, and I've had a couple of half-hearted attempts to watch the series in the past, but did never really get out of season one, so I'm going to try to, maybe get through that one again. Not that it's not good, but just that, like, I need to not get distracted into other things. That's the problem with a show like that, is just there's so much of it that it's like, it's hard to just keep going when there's so many other new things to watch. But yeah, so just sort of feeling like my interest in those two universes currently both, revitalized a little bit of late. I mean, related to that, I'm also playing the old Knights of the Old Republic Star Wars game, which is, it's also very good in its way. I've talked about that a little bit on these videos too, which is to say I love the story. The gameplay is hard to go back to. I'm making it work, but it's not the fun part for sure. Although what is really interesting even about that aspect of it is, since I was a big fan of the Mass Effect games, and obviously people are talking more about those lately because of the Legendary Edition, but like these are the games that they made before they made Mass Effect 1. So in the same way that the gameplay from Mass Effect 1 evolved into Mass Effect 2, and now they've gone back and tweaked it to make them a little bit the more similar, like Knights of the Old Republic is where it's even more in that direction. But, one of the things that is interesting that the Star Wars universe is doing right now is they are like they're exploring a new era called the High Republic in like books and comics and stuff. And I've listened to the audiobook of one of those, and yeah, it's pretty good. Um, it's set approximately 200 years before the events of the prequel trilogy, and it's supposed to be before the Republic kind of went into decline a little bit, and it's when they're still expanding into the Outer Rim. Um, it's people are less, like, but they're everything's a little bit more idealized. Uh, but yeah, it's got some good stuff in there. But then, like, all the Star Wars TV shows and movies and stuff that they're talking about seem like they're all just like curling in on themselves. Like, I love Ewan McGregor, and watching him as Obi-Wan some more, like, I know that I'll enjoy that, but both that and the Andor show, like, it's like we know what happens to those guys already. Um, sure, I'm sure they can tell us some stuff that happens in between that we didn't know, but nothing is going to be life-changing about it because we know what happens to their lives. So I think that's frustrating, and I kind of, I wish that they would be more willing to explore in new directions rather than just try to make sure that they, have completely, filled in any potential open crack in the existing continuity. Anyway, I'll go ahead and leave it there, and I'll talk to you all tomorrow for 5 more minutes.